Good morning. This is Jim Moore, and you are watching Justice for America. It is May 2nd, and this is the year of our Lord 2023. Hope you're having a great day this morning. This is episode number 44. Yeah, so this is the program that we do once a week on Tuesdays to talk about social issues from a biblical perspective. Now, this is something that the Lord did, and I think we're supposed to do it too. And we just talk about current events and what's happening in the world and how we're supposed to respond to them through prayer, faith, and intercession, and so on. So this, I just want to remind you, the program really is a mic. God bless you. Sorry I'm a little bit late this morning. I really got caught behind the 8-ball with a bunch of stuff. So anyway, I want to remind you that this program is for information. It's an information-based program, and its primary purpose is to inform you perhaps about things that you don't know, maybe some things you've heard a little bit about or whatever, but to help bring some clarity to that according to yours truly and what I believe. And of course, all the people we listen to have their opinions. You know, we want just the facts, but the truth is we mingle the facts with our opinions. It's pretty much what all of us do, and that's okay. Sometimes our opinions are right, sometimes they're not, but that's what we're here. That's what we're called by the Lord to do. Justin, God bless you. And there's my lovely Linda. I love you, baby. Yeah, so Justin and Tammy Houston. Okay, that's what that is. All right, and come on, say hello, and I'll be happy to acknowledge you, providing I think about it. Okay, so yeah, lots and lots of stuff going on today. That's part of why I got caught behind the 8-ball. So I want to talk about America's planned invasion. Is the government complicit in human trafficking? An event, excuse me, that just happened in Boston called Satancon. We're going to talk about that. And then bank fails. Okay, you ready? Lord, give us grace to understand. All right, good morning. Good morning, Ian. So the first issue, now most of you know that Tucker Carlson was released from Fox News. Don't really want to rehash this a lot, but it is kind of a big deal. You know, many millions of viewers now have watched. Their stocks have plummeted. A lot of people have canceled subscriptions and all that. So this is not the most important thing in the world, but it is a pretty significant thing. And so the very first statement that Tucker made after he was released, I put the link in there. It's very short. It's like a couple minutes long. So I encourage you to just take a minute and listen to what he says. Agree with most of it, some of it not maybe, but that's okay, right? We need to remember that we're not looking at the personality, okay? We're looking at not just the person, but we're looking at what the Lord is saying. Is the Lord speaking through this, and so on and so on. There's a lot of prophetic understanding that could be gathered by just paying attention to what's happening. All right, so the first one I want to put is the crisis at the border, and that's a familiar term. But this is something that you and I should be aware of. We should be praying about. I think we have a tendency to go all the way to one side or the other. Hi, Christy. In other words, we ignore it because we don't want to be trouble with it. We think somehow God doesn't care about it, and so why should I? Or we flip all the way to the other side and we become obsessed with it. It's all we think about, it's all we talk about, and so on and so on. I think that's why I had an angelic visitation to start this program 1 day a week. Okay, that's why, because the other days of the week we're talking about the Lord, we're talking about the Bible and so on, but it is important to know. So we're finding that middle ground. So is the U.S. government complicit in trafficking? Now, one of the things that I try to do is they're not really in order of importance, because sometimes the very last things are just as valuable to understand, hi Linda, as the first thing. But I do like to say the must watch. There's at least always one that's a must watch. I would say this first one is a must watch. How many moms out there? How many of you are watching this program are mom or want to be a mom? Okay. Hey sis, God bless you. Look forward to seeing you Friday. Yes. What is happening with our children right now and when I say ours, I mean the children of the world, is incredibly important. I cannot think of anything that would move the heart of God more, aside from the eternal souls of men and women, than our kids. And you need to watch this one. That's what I'm going to say. This brave woman is a whistleblower about a governmental institution that works on people coming across the border, specifically children. But here's the problem. I'll just give you a brief overview. It's fairly short. I think it's like 5-6 minutes long. Very important. As a matter of fact, I personally watched this I think 3 or 4 times because I wanted to get it into my spirit. I don't want just to know about it. I want to feel the heart of God about it. And I believe God's heart is grieved over this one issue. And they're talking about the thousands and thousands of children that are coming across the border and the system to move them from their home country, whether it's Guatemala or Belize, Central America, Brazil, Mexico, whatever, usually the southern states. There is a process that cartels have developed, very sophisticated. You got to see, these aren't just a bunch of thugs, although they're terribly evil. Holly, God bless you. They have a very sophisticated system. Listen now, to get those kids, we're talking about children now, we're talking about preteens, from their home country to recruit them, basically. That's not the right word I'm looking for, but to go and to convince their moms or dads, hey, we're the good guys, we'll take care of them, we'll get them across the border safely, we'll set them up in a job, we'll give them a home, we'll get them on government assistance, and so on and so on. They really paint this rosy picture of what they can accomplish. And so they begin that process. The kids go with them. The nightmare begins. Now, what this particular link is about is let me just read one of the quotes that I wrote so I wouldn't forget. This is a quote from the description of the video. It's a video, but they have some words attached. Whether intentional or not, the writer says, it could be argued that the U.S. government has become the middleman. Now think of this, from the process of recruitment to placement, the middleman in a large-scale, multi-billion-dollar, don't let that B word become a small thing. $1 billion is still $1 billion. $1 billion, multi-billion-dollar child trafficking operation that is run by bad actors seeking to profit off the lives of children. Okay, let's get real about this. Hey, Steve, we're talking about these cartels that want to profit, make money off of kids. Okay, this is a reality. There is no level of conspiracy involved in this. It's absolutely happening. We probably don't know all the nuances of all the facts because a lot of it is still trying to be kept secret. But it's blown the cover. It's absolutely known. Everybody knows about it. The Biden administration, the Trump administration. Okay, so just know that. We're talking about tens of thousands of children per month. Okay, I don't have exact figures that are recruited in their home country, let's say Brazil, brought across the border, smuggled across the border. And now, the part that this is talking about is that the U.S. government has a program to place children. Okay, probably very well intended initially, blah, blah, blah. We don't have to make everything an impure motive. I don't know the motive, so that's not the point. The point is, what is it doing? They are, either knowingly or unknowingly, handing off these children who are, we're talking about unaccompanied minors who they don't have any parents with them. Okay, so what do? They're placing them with organizations that claim to be responsible actors to put them in jobs and services and so on and so on. Many of them are winding up in the hands these we call them bad actors, not like an actor in Hollywood, but people that have these make-believe, what would you call it, institutions, programs, non-governmental operators who who are saying, oh yeah, this is what we do. We place kids. And because there's so many of them, they're winding up in the hands, not just a few of them, but many of the human traffickers. Now, human trafficking does not just mean sexual exploitation, but it absolutely does mean that. But it's also indentured servitude. So the kids come across, they are placed in a job, but they have a debt to pay. Okay, if you've never researched this, you should. They have a debt to pay. So their trafficker says, here's your job. You're going to work a graveyard shift, little kids, a graveyard shift at a meat packing plant. And the people that let this happen should go to jail, not just the traffickers, but the business owners that turned a blind eye because they get cheap labor, won't even go there. But they're placed in these jobs and they're a debt. Okay, you're going to have to pay me back for placing you in this job, placing you in this shanty apartment, this rat and roach infested apartment. You're going to have to pay me back this. It's, we're charging you, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. So those are realistic numbers to take you all the way from your homeland across a border into a job, into a home. Oh yeah, it's going to cost you $20,000. You're going to have to work that off with interest. It's literally like a loan. And they make it sound great, but what it's designed to do, have you ever had a bank card? Have you ever had a credit card? And the interest is so high you never pay it off? That's what this is. Their interest and their debt is so high, and what they get, their meager amount they get for working, really it's slave labor, is so small they will never get out of it. They literally, so not only are the traffickers engaging, and we're not even touching sex trafficking. We're not even touching these kids being used as sex toys, pardon me, for the most wicked of wicked. Okay? So, why are we saying all this? Why is this link important? Because our government has decided that having open borders, and we can say they're not open, but they are. They are. We're talking in the millions. Numbers range anywhere from, a couple million to as many as 6 million people in the last couple of years have come across our borders illegally, been let in, and basically disappeared onto the streets of the United States of America. That is a big deal. And I'll tell you why it's a big deal, because it's not just about the poverty-stricken, poor individuals that want a better life. It is about that too. And the compassion, yeah, the human, I get all that. But it's also about the fact that the cartels have literally taken over the United States border. They're ruling in this thing. They're bringing fentanyl. I think I heard the other day that enough fentanyl has come across the border to kill every American 4 or 5 times. It's craziness. Now, what's my point on this? And I could get in trouble for this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Our president, that's where the buck stops. He's allowed this to happen, and primarily the reason that the political system is allowing this to happen, I'm telling you right now, all the nuances, all the debating, all the discussions from the right and the left, and well, it's about this, and we love to make things complicated because then we don't have to do anything about it. Did you hear me? We love to make things complicated because then we don't have to do anything about it. It's too difficult to do anything about, okay? Here's the uncomplicated truth about this. We are allowing, or our system of governance is allowing millions of people to come in so they will vote for the people that's allowing them to come in. That's it. That's the primary. It's not about compassion. It's not about, we're all going to be one global family. I mean, it is about globalism, but it's primarily about we need to stay in power. And no matter what it takes, we're going to do it. And these are the consequences in human lives. Okay, human life. Some of you have heard us testify. My own cousin lost his life to fentanyl. I don't believe he would have lost his life. All right, so you need to watch that one if you don't watch any other link. Okay, so let's go on. Continuing with the issue of the border, I'll go through these real quick. One of these is there's a bill in Congress currently, they may have already voted on it, I don't know, to give special treatment or conditions for, I guess that what they would call like endangered, or I forget the word they use, like people coming across the border who are especially vulnerable. So the bottom line is they're saying LGBTQ plus I whatever are vulnerable, and so they won't be checked. They will not get the same treatment as other people get coming through the border. Not just them. There's a whole list of people. If you watch a video, it'll give a list of 8 or 9 things of people that are considered vulnerable. People over 60, people who don't speak English. So it's just one more removal of the boundaries, okay, in order to accomplish the ultimate purpose of staying in power and, of course, globalism. All right, so number 3, a CBN reporter is saying that Texas has been overrun. The cartels control the entire border. He says there's an invasion taking place, and the state has to declare this as an invasion. And so this individual is trying to get a bill passed that will declare what's happening at the border as a legitimate invasion. And you can go on record that Jim Moore said that's exactly what it is. The problem is it is a planned invasion by our own leaders. And that is the horrendous, sometimes, it's just my sanity. I'm just like, God, this is just hard to watch this happen. And I get very little patience for people who just say it's a non-issue. All we're supposed to do is just pray. You know what? I'm sorry. I won't even talk about that. Can't talk about it. Number 4, there's another individual. This is a Newsmax article that's saying there's a tsunami, okay? A tsunami of humanity. What we've seen in the multiple millions of people that have come across the border is predicted to radically increase in the month of May. So I'm sorry I don't have all my facts done on this, but this, I believe it was Title 24. Is that right? Somebody can tell me. Title 24. So here's what we do. We put out feelers. When I say we, I mean government entities. Now, you may think I just want to throw this in real quick, because some people think this. You may think I'm anti-government. I'm not. I believe government is of God. God actually was very clear about government being from him. But he is pro-righteousness and he is anti-wickedness. He said over and over that when the righteous rule, the people are glad. When the wicked rule, the people groan and mourn. Pray for your leaders all the time. Why? Because it doesn't matter? No, because it does matter to him, okay? I don't know where we ever got this idea that it doesn't matter, but I am the government will be on his shoulders. I'm pro-government, but I'm not I'm not pro-Nero. I'm not pro-Hitler. I'm not pro-Mussolini, okay? But I am pro some of the good guys, Abraham Lincoln, George Washington, JFK, you know what I'm saying? Ronald Reagan. I'm for good government and run by good people. All right. So I just wanted to make that clear because I'm talking about the things that are going wrong and that we need to be praying about and articulating our voice in righteousness, in truth, in peace, in the wisdom of God, and so on, in the love of Christ, but still saying, hey, this is wrong. Okay. This is not right. This cannot go on. Many of the things that would have already happened, that would have basically brought about the end of our country. I'm not just being metaphoric here. I'm not just like going crazy, but I believe there are things that would have already brought the end of our way of life here in the United States and our liberty to live and preach the gospel and freedom and so on, had not people stood up. There are things, let's just talk about a recent one real quick. I know I'm going on here, but the whole Bud Light thing. Whatever side you're on about that, where a transgender person was putting on the Bud Light can, they have changed their position at some level because people said no. Okay. Now, I'm not talking about that particular issue. I am on the side of the no. Okay. But I know there's a lot of people, whatever. Anyway, the point is, where the people are silent, evil wins. Edmund Burke. The only thing that evil needs to triumph is that good men do nothing. Who was it in Nazi Germany? I just put a post about this. Oh, who was the famous apologist in Nazi Germany? Heather, maybe you know. He said these words. He says, silence in the face of evil is evil itself. Silence in the face of evil. What's his name? Was it Bonheimer? It's escaping me. A man who stood up and said, what you're doing, Hitler, is wrong. what's happening with the Jews is evil. He lost his life for it. Okay. I can't think of his name. It starts with a B. All right. But he said this quote, and I believe it is from the Lord. He said, silence in the midst and the face of evil is evil itself. All right. So they're saying on the, I believe it's the 24th. So, all right, gather my thoughts. So what happened is this came out into the public. This is how our adversary works. Puts out something really radical, really evil to put out feelers and see what the American public says about it, to see if righteous people will stand up and say, no, you can't do that. Okay. Waiting to see our response. And if we don't respond, okay, well, let's say it this way. If we do respond, as in this issue, when the whole issue of the Title 24 came up, there was an immediate pushback. Yay, that's a good thing. We don't want the borders just open, to flood millions upon millions of souls into our country. Okay, we cannot do that. We cannot sustain our economy and our system if we just say, hey, everybody come here. Okay, it's not wise and so on. So there was an initial pushback to that. And then what happens? Okay, if you were the enemy and you threw something out there like, hey, everybody get 666 tattooed on your forehead, and everybody freaked out, what would you do? You'd pull back. Okay, this issue has not gone away. But see, we're so used to hearing these things. We hear these things on the news and they come out for a little while and we're like, oh, shock and awe. This is terrible. And we do. We stand up and we say, no, this is not right. Don't do this. Don't do this. You're our leaders. We elected you. We pay your salary. Don't do this. Okay, it's going to hurt our country. And so then they draw back, but the issue doesn't necessarily go away. So this issue has now resurfaced again. And as far as I know, in May, it's set to pass again. All right. We need to pray. We need to stand up. Number 5 under that, and this is just like a little extra bonus. Ex-Governor Lori Lightfoot says, please stop sending illegal migrants to our sanctuary city for illegal migrants. Okay. She's saying this to Abbott, and Abbott said this, and a lot of people, Abbott is the governor of Texas. He says, you know what? All you sanctuary cities that have approved this flood of people, they're not coming into your state, but they are coming into mine. I don't approve of it. We don't want it. You say you do want it. You call yourself a sanctuary city for illegal immigration. So here, we're taking you at your word. People say it's a political. No, it's not. It's not a political stunt. It's an actual reality check. And so the governor is saying, please stop sending illegal migrants to our sanctuary city for illegal migrants. Now, that's just the insanity. All right. Shifting gears, I want to talk about our kids again. Now, this is a little bit different, but, my wife, Linda, bless her heart, love her. Let's say Dietrich Bonhoeffer. Thank you, Heather. All right, Dietrich Bonhoeffer. Okay. Shifting gears. So Linda said this the other day, and I believe that, sometimes we say things and it's like it just kind of comes out of your spirit, and she said this phrase, Satan is coming for our children. And boy, when she said it, it hit me. And I mean, we know things sometimes. We are living in an age where Satan is coming after our children. This is a big deal. I'm going to share a video tomorrow that I am going to beg you to watch. Some of you know who Lou Engle is. Some of you like him. Some of you don't. I don't care. What he is saying is of the Lord. And that's going to be on tomorrow's program. I'm not going to tell you today. You need to watch it. I might even make my program really short so you will watch it. Satan is coming after our kids, but God has an answer for that. Okay, some of it is playing out in the political, some of it is playing out in schools, some of it's playing out in our churches, some of it's playing out in the health department. I mean, we get this funny idea that it's all spiritual. Well, it is at its core spiritual, and that's why our fight at its core must be a spiritual fight. If we eliminate that as the less important thing and we go primarily to fighting things on the political or the education or the social realms, then we lose. We lose. The Bible says we wrestle not against flesh and blood. Listen, let me just say this real quick because I'm a preacher and I know I can't help it. I'm going to preach. Let me say this. If there's a demon standing in an open field, and you drop an atomic or nuclear bomb, okay, just hear me what I'm saying for a minute, because I'm not just ranting. Let's say there's a demon and an angel standing in an open field, and you want to remove the demon. Let's not do the angel, just a demon. You want to get rid of the demon. If you drop a nuclear bomb on top of the head of that demon standing in a vast open field, when the dust settles, the demon will still be standing there. You cannot win a spiritual battle by purely natural means. Are there natural things that have to happen? Yes, of course, okay? If you're addicted to alcohol, you deal with that demonic thing, you cast it down, you ask God for help, blah, 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 deliverance, all of that. And then, you know what you do? You put the bottle away. You get rid of it. You don't bring it into your environment or keep going to the bar to visit your friends, okay? There are natural things that we have to do. Political, judicial, in the law and order and policing and all that, okay? So, let me tell you about these links. Number one, 374,155 abortions were performed in, I believe that's in 2021, or maybe so far this year. You'll have to read it. Planned Parenthood received $670.4 million. Okay, I got it. This, boy, this can make me cry. This can make me weep. Planned Parenthood received $670 million of your taxpayer money. You unwillingly helped fund the death of 374,155 babies. Now, if that doesn't disturb your heart, I don't know what will. So the government that you're under right now, okay? Oh, I don't believe in voting. I think it's all rigged. It doesn't matter. Don't you buy into that. I know there's a lot that goes on in the unseen realm, but I know God rules, okay? And God says, hey, if you don't even care enough to vote, you're going to get the kind of government you deserve. Okay, I'm just saying. They're taking the money that you pay in your taxes and they're killing babies with it. $670 million went to Planned Parenthood to abort babies. Okay. Now that is increased by 6%, so you can read it. All right. Democrats in the Biden administration have made certain that Planned Parenthood receives almost 6% more, an additional 6% in taxpayer dollars. That means that every tax-paying American, whether willing or not, contributed to this agent of death, Planned Parenthood. Watch it, read it, let it affect your heart, okay? Number two, so I'm talking about Satan is coming after our kids. What did he do in the Bible? What did he do in Moses' day? He said, kill all the babies. Okay, and them it was afterbirth, but it doesn't matter. Okay, 5 minutes before or 5 minutes after. Come on. Are we really so insane as to think it doesn't matter? God, I guarantee you, will tell you it did matter. Okay, so, and then in Jesus' day, he implemented the same abortive spirit in the days of Jesus. Are you listening to me? It is the same spirit that says, go after the kids, kill the children, stop that generation from rising up. You need to watch a video tomorrow. You need to watch a video. And now he's coming after them with transgenderism and confusion and vast your kids can pick up a phone and watch anything they want as far in the sexual realm. Don't be blind to it. Don't pretend it's not happening. It is happening. And I guarantee you, your kids have probably, unless they're like in the top 2 or 3%, have seen that stuff. He's coming after your kids. Okay, we need to stand up, we need to speak up, we need to pray up, and we need to believe God to shift. You got to watch a video tomorrow. All right, I'm going to tell you this. Some of you live in Salem. I'm in Salem right now. This is going to shock you. Say, you know what shocks me? And I know I say this a lot, I'm sorry, but you know what shocks me? Is that people don't know about this. They don't even care enough to look. They don't care enough to listen to this program or some other program. This stuff sweeps through our legislation, and we're talking about after it happens, they don't even know. I get that sometimes they're pretty sneaky and they pass this stuff through. I'm going to tell you a law that just passed that will horrify you, okay? I get it that they go underneath, around the bush, and I get that. I get that part. The enemy's sneaky. But after it happens and we still don't even care enough to research, okay, come on, Christians. Why have we abdicated our responsibility in the name of Jesus? I'm telling you, it's not right. All right. There was a law passed in Salem just recently, I think just days ago. Children as young as 10 years old, it is now legal, if I'm reading it right. Now, there may be a chance to challenge it or something. I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but I know that they did pass it. Okay, look it up. Children as young as 10 years old can get an abortion without their parents' consent. 10 years old. Why doesn't that bother us? Why is it that we never speak a word of prayer to the Lord about this? Well, maybe it's because we don't have a prayer life. I won't go there. We should be gathering together in our churches, in our houses of prayer, and we should be doing prayer meetings for this very thing. Our kids. We should vocalize. Are you listening to me? We should vocalize before the throne of God. Satan is after our kids. We're awake, we're aware, we realize that the greatest power on the earth is not the political system. It's not all that. We'll do our part in that. It's not the nuclear bomb. It is the nuclear power of fasting and prayer. We are going to go to bat for our kids, and we're going to trust that the God who is the righteous God of heaven and earth will do something about it. Are you listening to me? This is so important. You must listen to the link tomorrow that I'm going to share with you with Lou Engle. God, and the good news, I'm going to tell you some good news. God is doing something about it. He is rising up mothers. There is a movement among women that is going to eclipse anything the world has ever seen. That's not pie in the sky. That's not hyperbole. That's not wishful thinking. It is literally happening right now, and it's going to keep happening. Yes. Thank you, Anne. Amen. Okay. I'm getting worked up because if this thing about our kids doesn't work you up, nothing will. We become desensitized. All right, so let me just go on. So this has passed already, okay? Your 10-year-old that goes to public school, actually even if they don't go to public school, can go to the proper authorities and get permission to have an abortion. I mean, let's not even talk about how they got pregnant in the first place and the conditions that led to that, okay? But they can get that abortion without your consent. And that, my friend, that's a work of the devil. It really is. All right. Number 3, again, a school kind of goes crazy with some of their things. I'm gonna go past that, and I'm gonna end up here. Actually, no, I'm not. I got 2 more things to do. So the issue of our economy right now is a concern for most, financially minded Americans who care. And I'm talking mostly to believers who watch this program who care about their money. They care about because they're good stewards, right? We're supposed to care about our money because it's his money that we are, he uses us. We're channels for the distribution of the wealth of our Father who owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. So my money is not my money, it's his money. And I'm a distributor, some to me, some to others, and so on. So I care about what's happening in our economy because it does directly affect me and my ability to be a good steward and so on. So, you heard a few weeks back, there was a major bank failure. There's 2 or 3 about this. You need to just watch them. I won't take a lot of time on them. But the idea is that I believe the bank that's fallen now within the last day or 2 is the First Republic Bank. So a couple of weeks ago, one of the largest banks in the world crumbled, okay, and was bailed out and, whatever. Now another one. So there's 3 altogether, if I'm reading this correctly. This one is First Republic Bank. It was seized by the government after an attempt to keep it afloat, and then it was sold to J.P. Morgan Bank. Let me just say this real quick. What you're seeing, okay, just to give you some perspective, what you're seeing is the gobbling up of lesser institutions to go into the big. It's kind of like the mom and pop stores that we saw one the other day. Linda and I were looking at some retirement places. We were just driving past them, and some of the smaller ones now are being bought up by the bigger ones. This is a thing that happens with grocery stores, Walmart, big. The big guys swallow up the little guys because almost everybody has a price, and you offer them enough money, and they go, "Oh, how can we not sell?" So what this winds up in is huge institutions replacing the backbone of our our country's economy, which is the mom and pop. Vast number of those. So now what's happening? This J.P. Morgan has bought up First Republic, and so this is not a little guy being swallowed up by a big guy, but it's a big guy swallowing up. It's like a big fish swallowing up a fish that's just a little bit smaller than it. But what does this say? This says we're on this train that is moving towards us. Now, I'm praying against that. I'm asking God that you keep our finances, our financial situation stable and so on. But I'm also trying to be realistic about it. What happens if this trajectory continues the same and banks keep falling and falling and falling, and the government keeps pushing more and more for a digital currency? There are some, I forget the number. Oh, I can't. 20, 30, 40, whatever, governments that have a fully digital system ready to roll out. Some of them already rolling them out. One of these links is China. China is leading the way in this right now. They already have this system that is connected to their, I forget what it's called. Anyway, they're moving towards a cashless society. They're actually implementing it. They're not thinking about it. They're not talking about it. They're actually doing it right now. And we're talking about a country with 1 billion souls, okay? So, and others are not quite there, but you need to watch this. You just need to watch it. Now, what's the point? Again, the point of this program is information. It's not fear tactics, okay? We need to be able, now listen to me. This is going to be important. We need to be unfearful. Is that a word? Unfearful. We need to be fearless in the midst of knowing what's happening. The best way to get fearless is not to pretend or be ignorant of what's happening. Okay? A person on the battlefield is not fearless because they shut their eyes and try to maintain peace. That's not fearlessness. Fearlessness, you know what's going on, you see it. The God that's living inside you is giving you the capacity to have faith over fear. That's what we're talking about. How can you train other people to be fearless if our primary way of teaching them is to tell them to ignore what's happening? That is not a good strategy for creating bravery in the hearts of individuals. You get what I'm saying? Okay? Train people for warfare is not say, hey, when things get bad, just sing Kumbaya. I'm not trying to be sarcastic. I'm just saying we need to rethink our way of doing this. There's a balance between, running with your hair on fire, Chicken Little, and you're totally obsessed, and pretending it's not happening. There is a middle ground. All right. So this is the last one, the last few links under the title of Worshiping the Father of Lies. Now, most of you have heard about Satancon. That has happened in the last few days. It happened in Boston. It was declared as the largest satanic gathering in human history. Probably so. I don't think it was nearly as large as they'd hoped it would be, but it was a big deal. Now, I put 2 or 3 links on here just to kind of bring you up to speed. This is not to glorify what happens. Actually, I'm going to tell you something that Sean Foyt said at the end, which is going to blow your mind. But the first one is Dr. Steve Turley. And this is about the event. He just shows a bunch of clips about what had happened and so on. And that's worth watching. And let's give you a brief explanation. I want to say this about these individuals. Now, there are true blue hardcore Satanists, people that literally worship the enemy. I don't know how much to say here, but I've had intimate interactions with these people in the earlier years of my conversion. I will not describe to you the things they do. Anything you can imagine that is vile, they've done it and do it and practice it today in secret, okay, because thankfully our culture is not so desensitized that they would say that's okay. These guys are not that, okay? I'm not excusing them. As a matter of fact, I'm saying they're actually worshiping the devil by saying they're not worshiping the devil. I'll explain that in a minute. But their philosophy is not that Satan is a real individual, even though they dress up and they do all this, they do the chanting, they do the seance, they do all of the trappings. You would, had they not printed out what their philosophical viewpoint about their version of Satanism is, you wouldn't know the difference. Okay? You just wouldn't know the difference. But they're basically approaching this thing that Satan is not real. We're not technically worshiping because he's not there to worship. And they start out in some of these videos, there's a woman ripping a Bible saying, I won't even say what she's saying, giving homage to the enemy and so on. But here's the deal. Just because you say he's not real doesn't mean he's not real. And if you worship him and flash the devil horn, I'm not even going to do it. You go to your concerts and flash the devil horn sign, oh my gosh, you are flashing a sign that was intended from its beginning to give glory to Satan. I just am amazed how everybody, they go to these concerts, they're all flashing the devil sign. They have no idea. They're doing it because everybody's doing it. Please don't be dumb. Okay? Anyway, I'm not trying to go on a rant here. I'm sorry. These people, listen to me now. Here's my point. These people are worshiping Satan by believing that they're not worshiping Satan. Okay? Does that make sense to you? It doesn't matter that you don't believe in him. He's real, just like God. Okay? All right. So number 2 link on this is just a quick Fox News thing. And then the third one that I really like is Sean Foyt. Now, I need to give you a little instruction about Sean's link because it is on Instagram. And some of you may not have Instagram. Try it anyway, okay? Oftentimes these links will actually go to, even if you don't have their service. Now, I don't know why sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. I don't know. So, but don't go, oh, I don't have Instagram. That one won't work for me. Try it. It might work for you. Now, when you click on the link, listen closely. When you click on the link, all it's going to show you is a picture. Okay. What you want to do is in the upper left-hand corner, okay, of the picture, in the upper left-hand corner, is an icon with Sean's picture on it, and it says Sean Foyt, Boston, Massachusetts. Now, this is important if you want to watch, because he's got a number of videos where he drives through and it shows them worship. He was there, obviously, worshiping. Sean says 98 people got saved because of their efforts. You see, we got to get away from this just ignoring stuff. Okay, we got to get away from that. We're not called to ignore. Jesus said it this way. You know how Jesus said it? How he said, hey, don't do that? He said, nobody lights a candle and puts it under a bushel. Don't hide the light. That's not what you're called to do. You're called to go into the darkness and be light. So Sean went, among other, I think they said there were like 215 evangelistic efforts going on. And there were some people, no doubt, don't use bad people, bad representatives of Jesus as an excuse not to do it. I'm sure there were people, remember the guys years ago that were saying God hates the gays and all. I mean, there's always stupid people doing stupid stuff. That doesn't give you and I a hall pass to not do it right. Okay. What did they do? They went out and they loved people. They sang worship songs. They said, hey, there's something more. God is real. The guy you're talking about actually is real, and so on. Sharing their testimony. 98 people gave, among these Satanist crowd, gave their life to Jesus. Now that's worth knowing about. So again, when you click on Sean's thing, upper left-hand corner, there's a little picture of him that says Sean Foyt, Boston, Massachusetts. Click on that, and then that will open up to all the videos and stuff and so on. All right, this is the last one. I'm going to end with this. Remember Jeffrey Epstein? This kind of encapsulates a lot of this for me. Jeffrey Epstein, I just got this one. Jeffrey Epstein's private calendar has now been revealed. There are a lot of Christians been praying. Okay, how is it? So this guy would be, the Bible has a phrase, and I'm going to end here. It talks about the mother of harlots, Babylon, the mother of harlots. And we use that phrase, I remember Saddam Hussein, we will start the mother of all wars. It is a phrase that's meant to illustrate the one that is above all of them, okay? The mother of all of them. So the mother of all, how would you say it? Human traffickers, young girls, young boys, among, hear me now, the elite. I've never done a program on him. I don't know if I will, but I wanted to share this. You remember the whole Epstein thing. Here's again, my goal is to eliminate all the confusion and just get right down to the bottom line. Here's the bottom line. Epstein was a man who was trafficking, human trafficking, sexual exploitation, getting girls to come to his private island, to specifically the elite. All of his Johns, all of his, and I shouldn't just say Johns because it's men and women. All of them were elites in public office, in governmental, in Hollywood stars. We're talking about people who typically, if they want to, have a way of skirting around the consequences of their behavior. What happens when you get so rich and powerful that the consequences for what you do are removed? Have you ever considered that for yourself? How would you live if there was no consequence to your sin? Okay, this is why God doesn't want us to do things in secret. How would you live if there was no possibility of you being punished for fornication, for lying, for cheating your neighbor, for killing someone? If there was absolutely no way you could be punished for that, would that change your mind about it? Okay, so Jeffrey Epstein dealt with presidents, kings of nations. These were his clients. This is a fact, okay? This is a fact. Now, this last link is about him. And even if all you do is see the picture, it shows you they have now revealed, because everything comes to light eventually, they have now revealed his personal calendar of the people that were coming to visit his island. And they weren't just coming to have margaritas and eat tacos. They were coming to engage in illicit and untraceable sexual activities. Why wouldn't they just stay at home and do that and go to Nevada or someplace where prostitution is illegal? Because they were dealing in a very specific clientele, and that was young people. Okay? I know that's gross. I know that's horrible. I hate to even talk about it, but there it is. I want to encourage you with this fact. It's all going to come to light. Okay? God forgives sins and they're forgotten and washed away. But the stuff that people give themselves permission to do because there's no God and Satan is not real and all that baloney, they will give an answer for. And we're praying that these things will come to light now so that we can live in a world that is peaceable. As Jesus said, pray for those that are in authority that you might live a godly and peaceable life. It is better to live in a situation and in a country where you can live a godly and peaceable life. So Jesus said, pray for your leaders, because that's what I want to. Amen. All right, guys, God bless you. It's been a joy. Thank you so much. I know there's so many things you could be taking your time to do. I really appreciate the fact that you listen. I'm not claiming I get everything right. I know I don't. That's okay. You and I, we don't have to agree on everything, but we need to love each other in the name of the Lord. Amen. So God bless you again. Friday night, 7 o'clock, Salem House of Prayer. Come, bring some Mexican food at Cinco de Mayo. We're going to talk about the goodness of the Lord and what he's done over the last 20 years to impact the city of Salem and the state of Oregon through faithful prayer that goes on night and day. So God bless you. Love you all. Look forward. Oh, some of you asked about helping. Please, Linda and I are in a huge need right now financially. I hate to keep mentioning it, but we really are. If there's any way you can help, we'd love you to do so. So just get a hold of us. That's all you got to do. God bless you guys. Love you. And we'll look forward to seeing you Friday if you can make it. And give yourself permission to have a great day. God bless.